Happy Migraine Awareness Month, everyone. And one of my favourite volunteers here at Migraine Australia is Flynn. He got to interview me, so now I get to interview him. Are you ready?
Yes.
Tell me about Flynn. I want to know, actually, I want to start with the cats. Can we start with the cats?
Right, yes. So at the moment, I have an Etsy shop where I make heat pack cats. And most of the time when I say that, people are like, are they heat packs like cats? Or are they heat packs for cats? Or like they are cat-shaped heat packs, and I give them all like a name and like a little like profile, like they're a real cat. And yeah, it's like more like an adoption process. But yeah.
Okay. It's like the Cabbage Patch Kids of, you don't even know what that is, the Cabbage Patch Kids of heat packs, right? You get like an adoption certificate and a name for your heat pack. And I just think it's cool and cute and, very creative. Are you genuinely a creative person?
Yes. And I think that is quite related to having migraine, because like growing up, I always used like craft as a distraction from feeling sick. So because I've been doing that all my life, I've gotten quite good at it.
What is your favorite craft?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think I can choose. I just go through phases. And well, at the moment, because I'm renovating a caravan, I would say that has taken over, like replaced some craft hobbies at the moment, because just like building and making stuff for that. But pottery is also fun. I've done, sewing, crochet. Used to do so much crochet. I can just do it without watching. I don't know. Like,
what's the most favorite thing you've made?
Oh, I forgot I do painting as well. I literally did like a few like art exhibitions worth of painting, and I also made like sugar flowers for wedding cakes for a while as well. So
just kind of anything you'll throw your hand to.
Yeah. Well,
have you ever made a teddy bear?
Yes, because my sister was making one for her like grade 7 like school project, and like mum was helping with that, so I got to make one too.
Okay.
An interesting project I did recently was I did some like rattan weaving, because I had some like, I wanted some sliding doors to go, like little door things to go under my bed in my caravan. And I was kind of like, I can't be bothered. Like, I don't want to, like, it's too expensive for me to buy, but I want it. And I couldn't really find the like reed I wanted easily, and that was also expensive. So I just got like palm fronds from the backyard and just like stripped them. And mum was quite annoyed at me because I used one of the kitchen knives. But yeah, I got some lovely. It took like a week, but I've got 3 sheets of rattan now.
So you have initiative and you live with your parents?
Yes.
Kind of. So is the plan that you'll live in the caravan?
Yeah, so I was living in the caravan in the yard for a bit over a year, but it's a 1970s van, and so it wasn't insulated, so it would get really hot and really cold, which is really bad for migraine. And it was also like slightly leaky, so every time it rained, I would just get so anxious. I was like, it's gonna crumble, it's gonna like mold inside. So yeah, unfortunately, because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, it's become a much bigger project than I'd hoped. Yeah, so at the moment, not only is the inside all stripped out, I've also sanded back all the paint off the outside. So that's where I'm at.
That's progress. You're getting there.
Yeah.
How long do you think it'll take to finish it?
I am hoping, I think I've been doing it for a bit over 6 months now, so I'm hoping it'll take like a year overall and not longer.
And then are you going to go on to, I don't know, be on one of those renovation TV shows?
No, I'll pick up a new hobby.
How did you come to be involved in Migraine Australia? Was it Kelly?
I can't remember, because I think I joined the page like around when it first started, because it's been ages that I've been in the chat group. But I think I got volunteering because I think I messaged you one day and I was like, thank you very much for everything you do. And you were like, we need more volunteers. And I was like, okay then.
Yeah, you think people have figured out by now is you don't have a nice conversation and flatter me, because the answer comes back with, do you want to volunteer? Would you like to do this? Look, being a volunteer is fun, isn't it?
It is.
Correct?
Yes. Look at us. We're having fun.
Oh, we have fun all the time. So you actually do a number of different jobs. I mean, you were supposed to be a Facebook mod and that was it. And we just keep roping you into other things.
Although no, when I signed up, I did agree to be an ambassador. I did agree to that at the start. So.
Okay. You're doing a little bit more than being an ambassador. Although you're being a very good ambassador for Brisbane.
Why? Thank you.
And everybody in Brisbane should join the Brisbane Migraine Warriors group so that you can hang out with Flynn. He chooses the best cafes with the best cake. And he knows that I'm in it for a cake, right? So sometimes I will drive to Brisbane for the cake. But you do a few other things. You kind of help us recruit more ambassadors, which is good.
I've tried. I don't know if it's working, but I'm trying.
It's working. And it's, like all of our new groups are a little bit fragile, so you're helping keeping them a little bit stable, which is good. And then there's the Men with Migraine group, which is entertaining. It's very different to the other groups, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure what they want either. Like, I'm almost kind of like, I need to post something because that's what I'm here for. Like, I'm here to help out and I'm here to like make some noise so it's not just silent. But I also don't want to, I don't know, post too much because I don't know what they want.
Look, the Men with Migraine space is a little bit controversial in the sense that, there's this whole argument of why do we separate the guys out? And it's like, well, when you're in the main group, it's very intimidating, particularly if you're new to migraine. And we are aware of that, which is why we've, put up all these local groups, and we have friends and family for, people who are trying to support somebody with migraine. And Men with Migraine is, partially because there's only so much you want to kind of read about, perimenopause and hormones and menstrual cycles. And because for about, half of the women in the group, that's the dominating part of their migraine. So it's just about kind of giving guys their own space where they can talk about their experience of migraine, which is a little bit different.
Yeah, I think another thing as well, like this is probably amplified because I'm trans, but I know before Men with Migraine existed, I remember I actually like went through the group members of the main chat group a few times to be like, how many men are actually in here? Because I was like, I feel like I have a condition that only women seem to have. And that made me self-conscious for transgender reasons. But I would imagine it would be the same for like cis men to a different extent. Like it'd be kind of like,
it's the same kind of confronting. It's the same, oh my God, there's a wall of women and I don't really kind of feel comfortable talking to this wall of women, particularly if they have, issues, like in their own lives with a naggy wife or a naggy mum. Who says you go to the doctor, right? Having suddenly, you post something in a group like Migraine Australia chat group and you suddenly have 30 mum type people come back and say, you need to go to the doctor, is kind of, not necessarily a good thing. So yeah, it's interesting, but you're not the only trans guy in the Men with Migraine group, which is very cool. Can I just say, that we have trans people who are comfortable enough with our organisation to say that they're trans, and that we can provide some help on some level. As you know, and I don't need to explain to you, but you can perhaps tell your own story. The migraine issue is so much more complicated when you're trans.
Yeah, it wasn't too much for me though, because my migraines weren't hormonal in the first place. So I got very lucky that when I started taking hormone replacement therapy, it didn't really change, which some people
that's a blessing. Yeah.
Some people like, maybe it'll get better. And I was like, maybe it could get worse. But I was a bit nervous to start testosterone, but even if it made it worse, I probably still would have persisted. But
kind of, entire gender identity migraine. Yeah, one of these things is more important. There's one only that I know of trans neuro in the US who specializes in assisting trans people with migraine. And we've actually shared some of her videos and stuff because it's complex and it is fraught. And particularly when you're dealing with a disease that is gendered. In the way that we talk about it, it's gendered, right? The fact that we have a men with migraine group, you know, to separate it out from all the women kind of defines, you know, it is a kind of gender binary nonsense. How does that make you feel in terms of, you know, this very big disease that has been very much a part of your life is constantly being discussed in language that doesn't relate to you?
I think I have bigger issues. So it doesn't like, I don't think I really noticed it that much because I'm too busy worrying about other stuff. So yeah, it hasn't really bothered me.
All right. So let's, for those who haven't watched any of your other videos, let's recap your migraine experience, and then we might talk a bit about when those two issues started to kind of collide. Because you started really young.
Yes. The typical like trans story that you hear is people know from a really young age and they grow up with it. And the typical migraine story is people will maybe realize, people will like get worse around puberty, but before then they're fine. And I just kind of switched those two. I was like migraine from birth, and then I'll just realize I'm trans really late.
Look, you are nothing if not individual. And it's what we love about you. So you had you got really quite sick from about 11, if I remember correctly.
So I'm if you go by like the definition of chronic migraine, where it's like so many attacks a month, I probably had chronic migraine as long as I can remember. And then like it just presented differently when I was really young. So it started out, I think, mostly presenting as ear pain. And so the doctors were initially just like, it's probably just a ear infection or something. So I was fed a lot of antibiotics. And then once I was like clearly having aura and stuff like that, there was a really good GP who was like, okay, this sounds like migraine. Like it's not, I wouldn't expect to see it in this age group, but it does sound like migraine. And then unfortunately, a lot of the other like neurologists he tried to help us out with were like, well, no, you have to have nausea and vomiting for it to be migraine. And that was like, I started seeing aura, I think in preschool. So that was quite early.
It's about as early as it gets. Before that, kids usually can't explain what they're looking at.
Yeah, I think I don't remember this, but mum said I just was kind of like one day in the car, I was like, it's so hard to like color the circles or whatever, or like select the circles when there's so many floating around, which was probably alarming. And then like I was always like telling her like, I don't want to go to school, I have a headache. And then that was like, initially it was like, well, kids just say that, but it became a bit too consistent. I don't know, like maybe there actually is something going on. And I have a food intolerance as well, which interacts with it, which is salicylates. And I didn't realize like I wasn't diagnosed with having a salicylate intolerance until I was 7. And at that time, so tomatoes are really bad for me. But often you like crave the foods you're not supposed to have with food intolerances. So I was eating minestrone soup for breakfast every morning. And I got so sick. I would often like, I would often just like pass out in the classroom. They had a bean bag for me. And yeah, I don't know if it was like a type of brainstem migraine or if it was just like pain, because that can happen with kids sometimes. If there's a lot of pain, they just kind of pass out. But yeah, I remember like once I got to grade 7 and like we were kind of leaving school, there was some kid that was like, I remember when you used to pass out in grade 2, that was scary. So I scarred some people.
Sorry.
But yeah, once I think after grade 2, it sort of got a bit better because I started preventatives in grade 3 when I was 8. And I tried all the different preventatives and everything between then and like until I ran out of things to try. And I never really found anything that worked very well. The best thing that has worked has just been reducing how much activity I do. So now that I've finished school, things are a lot better. I actually had a neurologist appointment like 2 days ago, and he was saying like, oh, what do you want to try next? Should we like maybe give you like up your end-up dose or do this or do that? And I was like, well, I'm actually pretty content with it being stable because like that's actually good. And he was
Yeah.
kind of like, you got to aim higher than that. And I was like, sure, but if you look back at my history, this is excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, look, it is something that's very difficult to explain to people that stable is sometimes really good.
And
Stable you
like,
can manage, stable you can plan, you know how much you can do every day.
and even though I will get sick, it's manageable. It's not, it doesn't spiral out of control. Like if I do too much in one day, I'll usually be like really sick in the afternoon. And then if I need to take something, I will. And then by the time I wake up, I'm fine. It's not the kind of like, I might be like tired or have just be more sensitive the next day or like have the migraine hangover, but I'm not going to be like from one incident have like 3 weeks or 3 months where it just spirals out of control.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then I forgot, yeah, around 11 what happened then. So yeah, between, yeah, it was just kind of chronic migraine just chilling between like 8 and 11. And then basically I think it's new persistent daily headache is what I got, because look, I've only really been told like chronic daily headache and migraine, but I find them very hard to distinguish. But since then I've had head pain every day. And like I remember the date it started. It was the 31st of March 2010. So it was probably new persistent daily headache. Yes.
Yeah. We did another interview with a guy with new daily persistent headache. So you should go and watch that one if you haven't, with Luke, because he's the same as you. He's 11 years and he's nothing really works. The kind of defining feature of new daily persistent headache is that it's refractory. It doesn't respond to any kind of medication. So I really do feel for the guys and girls who have migraine and then get that on top. It's really not fun. You did a story for us, one of the 151 days faces of migraine stories. So that again, 151 faces of migraine. I don't know what 151 days is, but 151 days of migraine would be bad. 151 faces of migraine story. And you said in that story that you decided not to go to uni because you'd already accepted that you wouldn't go to work full time.
Well, yeah, because like I couldn't manage school. So, and that was throughout all of school. So like even in primary school, once I got that new persistent daily headache, even though I was getting good grades, like I was told I wasn't attending enough school, so I had to do distance education. We basically bargained with the school. I was like, I'll do maths and science with homeschooling, and then I'll come to school and socialize when I'm well enough. So I've had a bit of like a split enrollment. And then for high school, I thankfully got a tiny bit better, so I didn't do homeschooling. And from like grade 9, I had to drop a subject, and then I just grade 10 dropped a like subject. The school was like, okay, you don't have to do language, just focus on the essentials. And then I did grade 11 and 12 over 3 years, but I got through. And generally, like what that looked like, even though I had that reduced workload, and for like assignments or tests and stuff, they'd have to be flexible deadlines, because I just have to tell them, well, I haven't been able to read for 2 weeks, so I can't get the work done. And with tests, it just ended up kind of like, okay, when you wake up, if you feel well, come in, and then whatever time you come in, we'll do the test.
It's good that your school was supportive in that way. There are plenty of schools that are just saying, you're too hard, go away. What would you have studied if you were well enough to go to uni?
I was planning on doing biology, I think, of some kind, because that was my favorite subject. And because like I just couldn't see any way that I'd be able to work and actually have a job where, because like I'm better since I've finished school because I don't do as much, but basically I'd just get sicker and sicker through the whole term, and then I'd have the school holidays to recover, and that usually wouldn't be quite enough. So it was like a little cycle thing going on. But I kind of like, I remember, I think it was it was grade 12, but not the last year. So not grade 13, grade 12. I like couldn't leave the house for like a few months, and I was mostly just doing like the work from home. So when you can't leave the house for months, or you have weeks where you can't read, and you're dealing with that kind of level of impairment, then it is kind of like, well, I don't see how any kind of job I could get would work around that. Like,
just come be a volunteer for Migraine Australia, where we have full flexibility and full support. And if you just can't do stuff today, well, you're in the same boat as a quarter of our volunteers. No problem. It is a very unusual work environment. But we're very happy to have you as part of the team. Do you find that being able to volunteer, being able to do something is good, or is it draining on your physical health?
It's very beneficial because I didn't go to uni and I don't have a job, I don't leave the house much. So that's actually been one of like the main thing that's always bothered me with having migraines, or one of the main negative impacts. It wasn't necessarily like the pain or other like effects that really got to me. It was not being able, like when I couldn't go to school, like the main thing there was I couldn't see people, I couldn't see friends, or it was harder to make friendships. So yeah, this is great because it's like I don't actually have to leave the house often, and I get to like socialize with people, and it's great to feel like you're part of a team and like a project you're working on with other people. Because like with a lot of the stuff that I've done, it's kind of boring to do stuff by yourself sometimes. Like a team project can be nice.
And it is a great team. Do you know we have 127 volunteers now?
Oh, wow.
Like, how did that happen? It wasn't all me being coercive. It's actually quite astonishing. And I've got to work on remembering everybody's names now, which is, always a problem that you have when a team gets larger. Tell me about your parents, because you occasionally give us these dental tips, and they're from your parents. Yeah, they're both dentists. Is that right?
Dad is a dental technician and mum's a dentist.
Right.
But there's, lots of, I don't know, I have another uncle who's a dental technician, and an aunt who I think is a dental hygienist now. And then another aunt who's an accountant who works at the dentist.
So it's the family business.
Yes. So,
right.
Yes.
And how has your family been in supporting your migraine? Has it helped that they had some medical training, or?
It was very helpful that mum had like more medical training. Dental technicians, it's more like, I don't know, there's less education that goes into it, but it's like very skill based. So it's making all the crowns, splints,
right,
stuff like that, mouth guards, those kind of things. But yes, mum had all of the medical knowledge. So when I started taking pain medication, I don't know when that was, sometime probably around 8. She taught me like, okay, this is Panadol is paracetamol, and you've got 8 milligrams of codeine in like Panadine, and then Panadine extra is 15, and then Panadine Fort is 30, and this is like a Nurofen is called this and that, and stuff like that. So it was very good to have, I think, that understanding, but also mum, like going to neurologist appointments and stuff, she was pretty confident in, like, I don't know, just being able to like advocate for me and what kind of medications I should be on or problems I'm having. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And were they as supportive on your migraine journey as they were on your trans journey? No.
Look,
It's still a work in
I
progress.
it is, but it's not their fault. Like it's hard for I can understand it's hard for like the other for parents as well.
Mm.
Yeah, I would say they've had a bit of difficulty adjusting.
You don't
Which
have to.
I don't know. I found that really hard that I went from like being so used to having that support with my migraine to then when I came out as trans to just suddenly feeling like I didn't have any support at all. So that, I mean, I obviously did have like support, like my sister's been great. And I remember when I first came out, my grandma called me and she was like, I just want to let you know I support you. And it was so
Aw.
touching. Yeah, but I can understand because I was always like very feminine. Like there were no
Mm.
like yeah, it wasn't obvious. But I honestly like when I look back, it makes sense in a
Mm.
way that I didn't realize until quite late because um when I only started realizing around the end of high school, I was like, something is wrong, but I don't have energy to deal with it right now. I was
Mm.
just too sick. And then as I kind of started, but like when I finished high school and my health improved, I was like, okay, I'm awake and I have to think about this now. Because yeah, being sick for so long, it's like afterwards, it was like waking up. It's like, oh, I'm present in life.
Mm.
And yeah, it makes sense that I was quite happy being feminine because I was so used to just, I guess, not fitting in. Of like, of course, someone like a kid with health problems is going to try their best to fit in.
Mm. And I think one of the things that is really evident from all the kids that I have reason to interact with through Migraine Australia who are in really bad shape and their parents is that the illness is their identity. Everything else kind of fades. So for you, it was finishing school and being able to get a bit more control on your migraine that allowed you to give some time to the rest of your identity.
Yeah, or just to have the spare energy to put towards figuring it out.
The spoons, if we want to use that language.
Yes.
Yeah, it's because it's not a little thing. It's I mean, there are some people go through their entire life and they just know, like they've always known. But for most people it is, it's confronting for everybody involved, and it's hard. And the last thing in the world that you need to deal with in the middle of all of that is being really sick. Particularly when you're trying to make people happy, which in my experience of you like to do. You like to make people happy. You make me happy by volunteering on all kinds of things. So how do you take care of yourself with everything you got going
on? Not well. I don't know, but I think the hardest part about both having health issues and coming out as trans is like I'm kind of in some way, like my way of dealing with being trans and I guess not being like my parents weren't like directly unsupportive. It was more just I could tell they were really uncomfortable about it. And that like it's not their fault, but I really struggled to see them uncomfortable about it. And so the way I kind of dealt with that was like, right, I just need independence and I need space from this. So that's why I bought the caravan and was like, I'm just going to live in the yard for a bit, which was great. But having migraine makes that really difficult because I kind of have, I feel like I need help and for life in general, because I know that I am like technically smart and capable, but then I also know that I can't rely on my health or my ability to do things. So that kind of creates a bit of anxiety about what, like, supporting myself, and can I actually support myself and look after myself. So feeling like I don't have that family support with transitioning, or like, yeah, that created a lot of issues.
And the migraine obviously makes things that, might be an option for other people, like moving out and getting your own place and all of that kind of stuff, just not an option.
Yeah.
Somebody as sick as you needs care. You need
Mm.
backup. Yeah.
Or like some of the reasons I decided a caravan would be a good idea, even though renovating at the moment isn't like doing good things for my health, is like, I kind of knew that I would probably never be able to work a whole lot. And so I wouldn't have a massive income, and living in a caravan seems like a pretty I don't know, financially sustainable way to live. Like, it wouldn't cost too much, probably a bit more cost effective than renting like wherever. And I can't just rent wherever is cheapest, because like, even now, like, the properties around here are about 1.5 acres each. But if the neighbor cooks a curry or the other neighbor has a burn off, then I will get sick, even though there's that much distance. So if I was trying to live in like a share house or an apartment building, and I don't know, someone washed their hair with lavender shampoo, I would be like, okay, I need to leave right now. I need to leave my house. I guess maybe that's another thing. Like, I don't think most people in my life realize how severe my migraine actually is. Because because I've had it my whole life, it's very easy to kind of put up a like a front where you look fine. And yeah, so it's probably like getting up to about 6 out of 10 pain again now. So after this, I might be like, might need some Mesindor Fort. But I still am able to like function, because currently the only symptom bothering me is pain, and I haven't had that pain for too long. So like, if that stayed for about a week, then I'd probably be like needing to go to hospital. But just because you're probably never gonna see like me sick, like the people, unless you live with me, you're probably never gonna see me sick. Yeah.
And even if you are sick, you're pretty good at hiding it.
I remember like my sister's partner, when he was like over, he was like, oh, he said to my sister, oh, Flynn's very quiet tonight. And she was like, yeah, he's really sick. And apparently like even she finds it hard to tell, even though she has like lived with me my entire life. Apparently I just kind of like stare off at the distance like I'm annoyed about something, but that's all she's got to go off.
Does she have migraine too?
No, just me. I have an aunt on my mum's side who gets the occasional hormonal migraine, and a cousin on my dad's side, Kelly, who's also a volunteer. But aside from that, that's the only people in my family with migraine that I know of. Yes.
So there's a few genes floating around.
Yes.
From both sides, but yeah, you've got both of them. Good luck.
Got lucky.
Alrighty, Flynn. Thank you so much for talking to us and Happy Migraine Awareness Month.
Thank you.